good friends, my name is Joey Balestrieri. Welcome to my work table. Today I'm going to be doing this ring by request. This is a Gem Hawks design. It was one of her classes during the Jesse James Beads summer camp, and I really enjoyed her class. And I'm going to just warn you, I am not as graceful with my wire working as Gem is. She's very talented, and that is her specialty. She is a wire artist. I mean, I have some experience, but I always feel kind of clumsy when I compare myself to her. But I was able to do her project with my own twist and my own flair. In the Jesse James Beads summer camp, she had chosen silver wire and some other beads, and I went into my stash and did these 4mm hot pink check glass rounds that are faceted and gold wire, and I added in another element and did a couple of other things to my ring that were not in her class because, you know, I always do my own thing. So we're going to do this together today. I've been wearing this ring pretty much not only in my videos but in my daily life, and every time somebody sees it they ask about it. So if you're going to do a ring project and you have tools for it, you will need a ring mandrel. I have this beautiful little one, and you will need 18 gauge wire. I have some 24 gauge wire here for my smaller one, but you could even go down to 26 if you have it, and I probably would have, but I don't have 26. And then I did a couple of things different to, I altered Gem's original design, but I used a riveting hammer because I really like the look of hammering on my wire working. So that is why my mat looks different. I have this marble board here because I have my bench block off to the side, and it doesn't hammer so well on my spongy, my normal mat. These are really heavy, and it doesn't take a lot of force, but there's a little bit of pounding. So I'm going to show those of you who are new to hammering your wire a little bit of what I do. And nylon jaw pliers are always wonderful when you're working with wire, and then your regular pliers. And I have some elements here, so I'm going to give you a few options for this design. Now, if you would like to make this ring but you don't have all these tools, if you don't have a ring mandrel, I would suggest finding a ring that you have already that fits you, and find something in your house. Like I have a bottle of clear nail polish here, and it's pretty close to my ring size. So if I didn't have a mandrel, I could use this to wrap my wire around. Check things like this is nail oil, lipstick tube. If you have glass jars, like I even have some of these that I keep findings in, you know, depending on your size, but you really just need a form. You know, you just need a little round form to get your size. So I'm a toolaholic, and so I have a few of these ring mandrels. I may regret having put this marble board here, but I thought it might be better for you to see what I'm doing. So to start off with, I have about maybe 8 inches or so of 18 gauge wire, and this is an anti-tarnish wire, and this is from the Soft Flex company. And I'm going to take my mandrel. I go between an 8, 8.5, 9, and I can pretty much alter my rings around on those 2 fingers, and that's my statement rings. That's how I like to wear them. So I'm going to come about at the 8.5 mark. Actually, let me do it this way. Put the middle, basically the middle of my wire on that mark. So I'm eyeballing it. And I'm just going to use my thumbs because that's where you have the most strength in your hand, and get that wire on there. Oh, I forgot one other tool, which I'll show you as soon as I get this around. I'm just going to, like, you know, get that bent around. Rings are a little bit challenging, I think, at least for me, they are. I love making my own rings, but I always find it a little bit challenging, and maybe that's because I have some arthritis in my hand, and so maybe that's why I find it a little bit challenging. But I don't do a lot of them, but I do wear the ones that I make, and I really love them. So I'm even going to put this down and try to give this a pull. Now you can, this is not your only chance for sizing. I'm gonna have to turn it this way. This is not your only chance for sizing this ring, because after we get going, we can make it a little bit smaller or a little bit larger. So I've gotten started with my circle there. Let me take this one off, and you can, you know, try it on as you go. So actually that size is pretty good for me. And so I'm just going to like make a little tiny bit of space in there. One other thing that is really useful, you don't have to have it, but a rubber mallet. Sorry, I'm reaching in my work basket. A rubber mallet is really useful as well. It can, if you have a metal mandrel, it can smooth out any place that you need smoothing. So I have those two hammers, and I'm just going to get a hold of this in the middle, and you can use your fingers to warm and straighten the wire. You can also, you know, do a little straightening with your nylon jaw pliers, but that doesn't warm the wire. So if you know, don't skip this step, the wire behaves a little bit better for you. And so like this is the part where you can make some adjustments. And I have to say, I fiddle with my jewelry designs even when they're perfect and don't need it. I just can't help myself. And on a ring, at least for me, it's even more so. I tend to go back and back and back. Okay, so I'm just gonna let that hang out there, and now I'm gonna come to my smaller gauge wire, and we still will have a chance to adjust this size after we do this next step. And I'm just going to get this wire around one of those sides, just a few wraps. So it's a little bit, you know, precarious at first to get it started, but you know, you can you can take your pliers. Like, if you can see, my coils are not anywhere near each other, they're not anywhere near neat enough, but that's okay. I'm just mostly want to get that wire on there, and you know, just about 3 wraps. And I'm going to go to the underside. You can see, I realize it's gold wire on a, you know, gold fine gauge wire on gold thicker wire, so I hope you can see. But I'm just making sure that those coils are nice and neat. Let me get this little tail on this side. And you can do more, like you can do 3, you can do whatever you like the looks of. I'm going to do a little bit more on this one. And I'm going to bring it to the underside and just trim this away. Now mine is still sliding. Every time I've done this, it's this way. And if you really have strength in your hands, you might get this wire tighter, but I don't worry about it. If you can see, mine is still sliding. I don't worry about that because I can do that with my pliers. So I kind of like open and close my pliers on that coil and almost like chase it around. And you know, that makes it a little bit tighter. And I'm just going to pull this over to the middle. And now here's where you can select your bead. So as I said, whoops, on this one, as I said, this is a 4mm check glass round. And I was thinking that I wanted to do one that was more, you know, not this pop of color, but one that would be like, go with my, with pearls, or you know, something like that. So I did get out these vanilla colored check glass, same rounds, but anything that's around that size, 4mm, would work. Like, I even thought about this little heart bead could go in the middle, but I think I'm going to do this one. I'm going for the look of diamonds. So I found this little pinch bead that has like an AB finish on it, and it's clear, and I'm going to go for like the look of a Herkimer diamond here. So I'm going to try a pinch bead on this one, just a clear, like, you know, diamond color. And this is where I'm going to separate my wires a little bit. I'm careful not to add kinks or bends to my ring. And then I'm going to do my best to elegantly get 3 or 4 wraps on this opposite wire with my fine gauge wire. So here again, your thumbs can come in handy, and you want to pull as tight as you can. And again, don't worry if your coils come out like that. Really just get them on there tightly, and you can use your pliers to neaten things up, to go back and tidy. Okay, and like when you're choosing your beads, basically you just want them to be able to sit right next to each other, because as you make these coils, this little section gets tighter and tighter. And at this point, I will say that if you only wanted one bead on here, you certainly could do that. And you also could go up to like a 6mm bead and just do one bead in the middle of this ring. Would be really pretty. And I made one of these for the little girl that I nanny for. She's only 7 years old, and her little finger was like a size 3, so I couldn't even fit more than one bead, and her ring still turned out really, really nice. So the thing you want to do is we have to get another bead on this bridge here, so you want to make sure that your fine gauge wire is coming back to the center, of your ring, so you can thread your next bead on. And before you do that, just make sure that your last coil is nice and neat. And here's where you don't want kinks in your wire, so nylon jaw pliers are great because you can't help but bend the wire. It bends. And I just keep going to the underside and just tightening my wire. As I said, I fuss with things a little bit, and I also go slowly. So I'm going to get my next little pinch bead on this wire. And that just fits in there just beautifully. I think I'm really going to like this. And then the same thing, I just want to get a few wraps. So really like making a bridge. And here's where this is my middle one. So I'm going to do my best not to kink this wire, but to coax it around. And you have a lot more strength if you do it with your pliers like that. So here's where you can literally count how many wraps you have around each one and match. Honestly, if there's one more or less when the ring is done, I don't think it really shows. I don't think anyone notices. I don't notice on mine, but I am being mindful that I'm trying to do all of them about the same. And I'm just using my pliers to make sure that it's tight and to draw them all together in a nice clean coil, and flip to the other side and make sure on the back side also that they are drawn together. And so it's looking pretty good. And even at this point, I'm going to do my third bead, and we'll still be able to adjust this. We'll try it on again. And whoops, I can't put the bead out there. So here's again where I need to get my wire bridge going back across to the other side. And my last few wraps. The outer bead, the outer wraps are a little bit easier than that center one. Go one more. And now we are done with this fine gauge wire. Can snip that away and just take a moment to tighten those coils, and I'm going to do that same thing where I kind of chase the fine gauge wire around the 18 gauge wire, just opening and closing my pliers, and just make sure that everything is tight and snug front to back. Nice coil, make sure nothing is sharp. And now I'm going to try this on at this point, and it still is fitting me really, really well. But when we make these coils, that is going to lock this size into place. So if at this point you wanted to tighten anything, you know, this is your chance. So you'll still have a little, once you do the first one, you'll still have a little chance on the other side to adjust that sizing. But I am pretty happy with it, so I'm going to go ahead, and I'm pretty happy with it. So I'm going to take my ruler and decide how much length I want for the coil, because I want this side to be the same. And there again, they don't have to be. You could do one a smaller coil and one a larger coil and make that part of your design. I mean, that is the beauty of this, is really make it your own. So and it's wire, so I am still like, I'm constantly, especially when I do a ring, I'm constantly making those adjustments. So I think on these coils, if I remember right, I think that I measured from the end of my coil, I can't remember if it was 2. I'm going to go for 1 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to cut that wire right there. Since this is 18 gauge wire, I want to reach for my thicker cutters, and I'm just going to get it right there and just snip. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing on this side. Just put my ruler at the end of that coil, and right at 1 3/4 right there, give that a snip. And like I say, I'm doing them where both sides are going to be pretty much the same, but that could be your, that could be your design element. And now I'm going to set these aside, get my round nose pliers, and I want this coil to be going this way. It's going to sit right here. So if you can see, it's going to sit right there. So I'm going to get a hold of one end of my wire and just make a turn. Just get the beginning of a coil. Just like that. And now I come in with my bent chain nose pliers, and this is 18 gauge wire. For me, this is kind of tough on my hands, but I use, push it in small increments against my thumb, and I am going to hammer this, so I am not worrying about if I mar the wire as I'm coiling. And in just small increments, I am just coiling this wire against my thumb. Get my finger inside now, inside my ring. You can stop at any point and make adjustments. Like, I know I need to pull this up a little bit. That's not going to be my final position on that coil, but I'm going to come to my other side because I can already tell that I need to bend that up. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side, but in the opposite direction. So I'm going to get, whoops, I have a funny, see how that does not look good. Actually, in my design, that would be covered up anyway because I'm going to embellish that, but I still want to trim it. If you were going to leave your coils plain, it looks nice in the center. So I'm just going to do the same thing, grab that wire at the end, get a little turn going. Same thing. Okay, so here's where, obviously they're not lined up, but here's where I can try my ring on, and this is where you can pull this together a little bit more. Can you see in this design if you pull it in? So continuing this spiral is going to lock this into place, and I really did get my size pretty well, so I'm going to make my final little turns right here and just get this spiral kind of in front of those beads. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side, just get those final adjustments in. I am going to hammer mine, so I'm not too worried about any of the way that it looks right now. And you can still make adjustments. It is wire, and you know, you have the pliers, you're the designer, so you can still like nudge things, you know, scoot them here and there. See how I'm doing. Oh, that's pretty. That looks great. I really like it, but I am going to hammer it. And this is where, like, if you did have, if you did have anything here that you needed to smooth out, or, you know, anything at all, you can put it on your ring mandrel and then take your rubber mallet. I don't really even need to do that on this, but this also work hardens the band a little bit, and you can also hammer the band. I did not on my other one, but I am going to hammer my coils. I just like the way it looks. Let me clean a little spot. Move some things out of the way, and I'm going to show you guys my bench block. And you have to do this really carefully because there are beads on this ring, and there's really no way to do it before the beads are on. So I'm going to hold my ring off the edge of my bench block and just use this riveting hammer. And you can even, if you like texture, you can use the other side of the hammer. And I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to have to go, you won't be able to see, I don't think, but I'm going to have to put this over the edge of my counter so that I can, hold on, let me see if I can move the camera so you can see what I'm doing here. How's that? So I'm just holding my ring over the edge so that I can just hammer the spiral. And I'm going to come in, I like the dented look, just add some texture to that spiral. I really like that. And I'm going to do the same thing on my other spiral. Just flatten. Oh, I forgot to tell you, if the pounding is too loud, I'm sorry, you guys. But it doesn't take a lot of force. I am not hitting my wire very hard at all. Okay. So now I am going to make some final adjustments. Let me set us back to normal. I am going to make some final adjustments, whatever I feel I need to do. Like right there, I see that I have a little thing going on. So when you hammer, you do like misshapen things. Anytime you hammer, you have to go back afterwards and make adjustments. And so like the pinch beads, they have 3 sides, whereas these check glass rounds are the same all the way around. So, you know, I have to accept that they are landing in a little bit different space, but honestly, I like it. I think it does kind of look like diamond chips, and that's what I was going for. and I got a really good fit too. It's really pretty. And so like I said, you can make adjustments to this with, you could do only one bead. You can go through your beads and kind of play with what you have that you think might work. And just fuss a little bit, because that's what I do. Okay, that looks really good. And so what I did to mine is I have these Austrian crystals. These were a craft store clearance item, but I know that you can find these online. They were originally $8 and they were on clearance at my local craft store for $3, and they are Austrian crystals. And I am going to choose two. There are different sizes here, and I'm going to choose the two of the smallest ones. And that's why I wasn't too worried about the center of my spiral, because I knew that I was going to add further embellishment. And I am going to do that with some super glue. It's very simple to do this. So I'm just going to, this is Loctite Gel Control super glue. It has these two little buttons on the side of the bottle, so you can get a little bead flowing and just place it right in the center of your spiral. And I use my pliers as my tweezers and just place that little stone right in the center. You have a little, you have a few seconds to make adjustments. And same thing on this side. Look at that. It's so pretty. So this does not dry immediately because it is gel, but it doesn't take too long. So I will let that dry. And then I did one more thing to my ring. I love my Potomac beads Permalac coating. I have tried other ones. Here is one that I ordered from Amazon called Eternal Jewelry Coating. These are for anti-tarnish, and the wire that I use is anti-tarnish. It has a coating on it in the manufacturing, but once you have hammered, and if you put any marks, like I did mark this wire grabbing it with my bent chain nose pliers to make these swirls. If you put any marks in even the fine gauge wire, then you've disturbed the coating, and then it will darken and tarnish. And since this is a ring, and I wear my rings, and I wash my hands, and I want to make sure that it stays a shiny gold. So I took my Permalac coating and I just brushed it over my spirals, and I brushed it over everything on the other ones. I've done, I think, what have I done? 4 of these now. And I love this design. And it's easy. It doesn't take too long to accomplish. And I enjoy the hammering. I enjoy everything. And I've been playing with different beads that are possible, for the center. And I may try to do one with just a larger bead in the center and just see what it looks like. Maybe an unusual shape, maybe something that's not round. But this is all that I did, and you can brush your Permalac coating even on the band and just let it dry. It dries pretty quickly. This will dry faster than the super glue. And you don't try to get it on your beads, but it completely disappears. So if you happen to touch one of your beads with the brush, it's not a big deal. You won't see it. And so this is just something, I don't always show this in every video, but this is something that I do when I'm finished any piece. Sometimes I show it, sometimes I just do it after I've paused my recording, but it dries really quickly and it really adds longevity to your work. And I just love that extra little step. So that is what I did on this ring, and I have worn this and worn this. I have enjoyed this immensely, this ring that I made, and I really enjoyed the JJB summer camp this year. And Gem Hawks is a great teacher. This is a lovely design with lots of possibilities to make it your own, which is what I did. So I will put some pictures up at the end of the video. If you guys, any of you give this a try, I would love updates to know what beads you chose, and if you came up with something even different than what I did with this design. I love hearing from you. I love the updates. My email is in the description box of all my videos. For if anybody wants to, communicate with me offline, that's there for them. And I always list any of my tools, any of my supplies. If I know where I got it, if it is something that I can link for you to click on, I always do that. I work really hard on those description boxes. And if you have not subscribed to my channel and you like my content, it would be so greatly appreciated if you would give me a thumbs up and subscribe, and then tap the bell notification so that when I come back with another video, you don't miss it. So I hope everybody is safe and well and having fun on your beading mats, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao, jewelry making friends.